Welcome, Cristine Vickery with DAVO by Avalara to Behind the Tab.
Thank you. It's so great to be here. I really appreciate the opportunity and the time and the thoughtfulness that goes into it.
Absolutely. I was so impressed with you on our internal sales call. I'm like, man, we got to get her on this podcast because people are going to want to know what she's talking about.
Well,
All right.
thank you.
So, talk to me about how you got into restaurant and hospitality technology.
Well, it's so funny because eons ago, I my favorite job was working in high tech, and I worked for a little company called Sybase that got bought by SAP, and I helped the Fortune 50 really get their, with disaster recovery, backups, and things, and their network infrastructure, and I always loved that. And from there, I went into other technical things. And then I went into owning my own franchise, which is not a restaurant, but owning my
Oh,
own
interesting.
franchise. Yeah, for over 12 years. But I've worked, and then before I came to Avalara, I had been working, if you can believe it, in the manufacturing industry, crawling around different types of equipment, working with printing manufacturers and anything that it was just a crazy, crazy job. But I did get to work in composites, which was a fascinating industry. And so I had kind of done the last check off of, have I touched upon every industry? Have I at least worked with people in it? And after that, I was like, my favorite job was always working in tech. And then cloud was so huge. And I saw the job position that was open for Davo, and I loved every single thing that was listed. There
That's
wasn't one
awesome.
thing I didn't like. And I said, well, I don't really have a choice. I have to apply for this. And then I got to know the company a little bit better and the people, and I loved it. And that's how I arrived here. But I mean, of course, I had a short stint of, I think everybody does, right? When they're young in the hospitality industry to get exposure to it so you can appreciate it.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It's interesting because I do remember, I'm aging myself. I do remember the company Sybase, so
Oh, wow.
we have a lot in common. All right, so for people who aren't familiar, can you talk about what Davo by Avalara is?
Definitely. When you think about, well, here's the thing, sales tax, right?
Mhm.
Everybody, did I lose everybody? Are they going to take a nap, do you think? Because maybe. But I think it's exciting because Davo takes sales tax off your plate in the sense of Davo will, for example, reach into GoTab, pull down all the sales transactions for the previous day, and then perform an ACH request for just the sales tax amount. And Davo will do that for every day for the previous day so that the cash flow management of sales tax is not commingling in the checking account of the restaurant, for example. And those funds go into Davos Secure Tax Withholding Account. And we do that every day. So this then by the end of the sales tax period, Davo has the all the sales tax dollars to file and pay sales tax on time guaranteed, which is so great. And Davo doesn't take and do any transformation with that data. We trust that everything is correct in our partner wherever the information is coming from. So if a gift card was bought, not taxable most of the time, and if it's used, then perhaps taxable. So we just assume everything is correct. We don't change the data.
Can you talk about the history of the company? And we don't have to spend a lot of time on it, but I'm always curious about how companies get started.
Oh, this one's fun because the DAV in Davos is David Joseph, and he's now retired. But he was a chef and restaurant owner down in New Jersey. And someone sat outside of his restaurant on a Saturday night, a sales tax auditor, and counted the number of people that went in and took an average price for an appetizer, a dinner, and dessert, and walked in and said, "You owe us $70,000 for the last tax period." And that was a Saturday night. And that's when David said, "That's not true." And they said, "Prove it." And he couldn't. And he said, "Why doesn't somebody automate sales tax like payroll is automated?" And that's how the idea behind Dava was born.
That's an amazing story. I guess that would make me want to start a company too.
Yeah. And he's a wonderful person. I was blessed to be able to work with him for a
Oh,
few
so you do
years.
work with them. Oh, that's really
I did.
cool.
Yeah.
And where are you guys based? And are you a virtual company?
Well, Davo, yeah, we're all remote now for the most part, but there's a large population of us still in Maine, believe it or not.
Nice.
Yeah.
And do you work exclusively in hospitality or are you across verticals?
No, we're actually about 65% restaurant, 35% retail. Think about it. If you're a mechanic, for example, you run your own business and you're fixing cars, you got to charge sales tax on the parts. And they don't like to do that and they can get behind. So that's a perfect example of something you might not think of where DAVO really helps out.
Yeah, no, that's really interesting. So then let's get into what makes it so complicated. And I just have that question. Why is it so complicated?
That's a great question. Can we ask that to each of the states? Because why? Why is it so complicated? It's
Yeah.
crazy. Because every state is different, first of all, right? And I don't even want to get into delivery because sometimes delivery, they're paying the sales tax and sometimes they're not. And then you run into things, and this sort of maybe flows into another question, maybe. But if you take, for example, Colorado, right? And you're going to sell a prepared bagel that's been sliced, toasted, cream cheese put on it, given to the customer. That's one rate. But if you do the same thing and they eat outside and you're seating outside, that could be a different rate. But then if you do that and it's to go, could be another one. They just completely off premise.
Mm,
And then if you're just putting the bagel in the bag and some cream cheese and they're going to prepare it themselves, completely other one. And don't forget, you've got a potential added bag feed there too. So it's just never that easy. It's figuring it out. And then, on top of that, you've got to stay, not never mind the sales tax rates and why they're so complicated, but really sales tax isn't going to add any value to your business. It's really more a risk averse thing. And
mm,
so it gets complicated because it doesn't add, you don't want to do it, right? If you have a choice of doing something that's going to add value to your business or a choice of doing something that you just won't get in trouble for doing, almost all the time, especially when restaurants start out, they're not going to spend the time on something that isn't adding value to their business. And that's what it's not so much that it's complex, but it's an additional that it's just difficult.
yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
difficult to fit into your time and your business when you're watching your margin.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. I think it's timely because I'm looking at it's almost April 15th, and I'll tell you personally that whole t I guess ticking time clock of taxes needing to be paid is one
Right?
of the most stressful parts of life. So imagine, I don't know, you can tell me they have to report them quarterly, I'm assuming.
Well, that's a whole other thing is it depends on the business, it depends on the state, depends on
Yeah.
the volume of their business sometimes.
Yeah.
So some people are once a year and
Yeah.
others are monthly. Sometimes you have quarterly, but they have to make monthly payments. And there are
Mhm.
all different permutations of when you have to pay and when you have to make payments. It gets
I
interesting quickly.
Yeah, so I'm assuming if I mean you would know if I don't have a tool like Davo, how much time I'm generally going to have to spend to get it right.
Oh yeah, yeah. Um, well, if you're going to do the same thing as Davo and you're going to move that money daily, so it's not commingling in your checking account where you pay your bills and things, then that's going to take typically like 3 hours a month to manage that. But it's really a matter that people aren't going to take the time to do what Davo does, and that's where they get into trouble. But we also, last year we had done a research study and they asked, and it was 50%. We focused on SMB and it was 50% retail, 50% restaurant. And 54% of those businesses spent between 1 and 10 hours on sales tax activities per month.
That's a lot of time
That's a lot of time. Yeah.
for
And,
something
and
that's not revenue generating.
exactly. And 44%, this isn't necessarily correlated to Davo, but being part of Avalara, where we manage sales tax rates outside of Davo, 44% of respondents, they said keeping up, they spend their time keeping up with the sales tax laws, which was one of the biggest challenges for them. And
Yeah.
88% responded that it was very important for compliance automation software to connect with platforms they already use, like e-commerce, payroll, and accounting systems. And they're really looking at it closely and how much time it's taking them. And it's a really big burden.
All right, so I have two questions. One that just occurred to me, so you can tell me whether it's not a good question or not. Like, who are you generally working with? Is it the bookkeeper or accountant or the business owner, or does it vary?
That does vary because sometimes the number one objection we get is I don't need that. I have my bookkeeper or my accountant. They worry about it. I don't have to worry about it. And it's like, well, it's not their money. And I don't think they're very worried about it. But the question is, do you worry about it? And so oftentimes we'll get operators that refer us to their accountant. mean, because honestly, accountants hate doing sales tax because it's such a manual thing and they don't like to do it. So when people sign up for DAVO, I always recommend that they add their bookkeeper or accountant as a user so they can just self-serve and pull down what DAVO's doing with the filings and the payments so they have the proof of it and they can record it.
Man,
So,
I'm glad I asked that question because I didn't even realize that. And I think the point that you made is it's not their money, it's yours.
yeah,
It's a
yeah,
really good one.
they're not losing sleep over it.
Right. Right. As a matter of fact, it might actually help them when it's not quite right. I don't know. I'll leave it at that. Um,
Exactly.
so, the thing that kind of piqued my interest was when you started talking about some of the situations when people make mistakes. Can you get into that?
Yeah, because that can get expensive quickly, right? Um, we always tell people falling behind, usually the late fees get into 15 to 30%. And so if you owe 10,000, now you might owe 13,000. And so how does that happen? I went and I looked up Florida as an example because I wanted to give something concrete. And so theirs is a 10% penalty and it compounds each month you're late. So if you owe $1,000 in sales tax and you're 30 days late, you pay another $100. If you're 60 days late, now you pay $200 and so on. And they cap it off at 50%, which is very nice of them. But if you have sales tax that are also repeatedly late, then they'll actually do audits and compliance reviews. They'll do tax warrants and liens, and ultimately a seizure of property or the garnishment of bank accounts. And if you owe nothing, say you owe $0, but you file late, they charge you the minimum fee of $50 for filing late. So it's pretty awful, you know. It's and if you're new, it can snowball quickly because if once you get late and then you have all these fees, now you have all those fees and you got to pay your next month's sales tax. So it really is a dangerous thing for businesses to fall behind in.
Yeah, I mean, I think that explains a lot because most people intuitively think, well, I'm collecting the sales tax. It doesn't matter if it's commingled. I have the money, I'm going to pay it. But what you've just described is how you may have the money, but you can't pay it.
Yeah, well, what happens is it sits in the checking account, right? And say something happens, your roof leaks, or maybe payroll happens the same day as sales tax, and you hadn't been setting it aside separately, and you've got to make a choice. I mean, we're all going to choose payroll, right? So that's what happens is when it hangs out in the same place, it's very dangerous because it looks like it's your money.
Yeah, so that's great that it just automatically moves and it's not even anything you have to think about. It just happens behind the scenes. So you're looking at what money you have to spend as opposed to that money commingled.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. I think that's really insightful. So talk to, and I didn't put this on the list of questions that we were going to talk about, so you can tell me whether it's a good one or not. When are you guys brought in generally?
Oh, that's a really good question because, people know that you can automate payroll, but they don't know you can automate your sales tax. So it's usually has to be mentioned by one of our partners or somebody gets aggressive and starts to like they get really fed up or they get in trouble. Sometimes the state will mention us if someone's behind. Like, why don't you use Davo? And but really it's building awareness out there and we're trying to do as good a job as we can making sure everybody knows that you can do this. So I know that accountants often will say they love it when their customers use us because especially if they see customers falling behind or they have someone who's new to business and they don't realize how much this can be a problem. So yeah, we get it from all different ways and places and channels. As people learn about that you can do this, they definitely get interested.
Nice. So then let's talk about like a real world example. So can you give me an example of an operator that's been able to improve this for using your platform?
Yeah, I can give a few examples actually. I put aside a few. This is a multi unit operator, and this is an exact quote. Sales tax flows into your POS system and it goes into your checking account, and there's nothing to say, don't touch that. That game changing technology is so simple because you don't do anything. It automates your sales tax. It's a complete game changer and it takes care of one of the biggest headaches. And then we have another one that's a multi-unit. And he said, we do monthly sales tax with 7 locations. If you don't save up for that, it's a big bill. DAVO immediately removes our sales tax each day so you don't use it when you're opening a new location, which I thought was great. And then we have a 1 location restaurant owner that we have a million things we're doing. Restaurateurs do the best juggling act. And the last thing you want to worry about is sales tax. It's one less thing we have to worry about. And it allows us to focus on the things that help our business thrive. And that really speaks to, I think, um, what we're being asked to do. And I was a franchisee, maybe not in the restaurant business, but I had a job I was doing for free for the state. Essentially, I was collecting tax, managing it, paying it, and filing it. Isn't that their job? Why is that my job? So they give you this added, not like owning your own business isn't hard enough. They give you another job that you have to do for free.
Yeah, and then they penalize you if you don't do it right or on time.
Exactly. Exactly. You have to do it well. It's not like at work, where some people you can slack a little and then make up for it. It's like, no, you get no grace.
Yeah, you pay for it. Okay, so then, a lot of what we focus on at GoTab is about, automation, automating the things that matter, right?
Yes. Yep.
But not automating things that don't. So when we talk about automation, and removing friction, can you talk about how you got your like how does Davo feel about that? Like, are there things that shouldn't be automated? Are there things that require human intervention in this process? Or, talk about the benefits of automating this for an operator.
I really think, first of all, if you touch it, are you adding value or getting value out of it? That's what I tend to look at, especially when I own my business. If I don't have to look at it and it can be automated, and it actually helps my business or makes me more efficient, then that's how I judge that. I can say that in that same study that we had done last year, 97% of the respondents indicated that they've automated or plan to automate their sales tax compliance process. And that's huge. And of those, 56% mostly automate with minimal manual oversight, and 34% fully automate, and 15% partially automate the process. So they definitely have plans to do it. So when you look at the entire tech stack, really looking at where can you bring something unique, or you're going to gain something unique that if you didn't touch it, it would make a big difference in your business. So, yeah, I mean, sales tax, it's like 100% to minimize risk. I mean, think about it. You can't add a full-time employee. You can't add inventory. You're not improving your restaurant or making a menu change or something that's going to matter to the business and your customers, increasing that experience the customer is going to have. It's like, yeah, you won't get hurt.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. No, and there's nothing you can do about what the sales tax actually is. That's not,
mhm,
you can't influence that by being involved in it.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
All right, so we want to be as practical as we can for people who listen. So, if you had to advise a business owner who's not automating, say they're not using a tool like Davo, do you have like some specific things they could do over the next 30 days to put themselves in a different position with regard to their sales tax situation?
Definitely. I mean, one of the things is if you're doing it manually, track your time, but more importantly, do an emotional barometer check each day. How do you think about sales tax at all? And is it weighing on you? That's one thing. And here's something too. Look, if any of you are behind out there, you're not alone. We've all been there. We've all made the decision to be there sometimes. I'll pay that next month. But there's no shame in being behind in your sales tax. It's a process that's overwhelming when you're running your own business. So I just want to say that, first of all. But second, I mean, I would recommend Davo has the first filing month for free, and I would totally recommend trying it and seeing what you think. Now, what that means, just so people's expectations are managed, it's not a 30-day free trial. It means that if you signed up today in the middle of the month, you'll be charged on the first of the following month, but this month's filing will be free. Filing and payment, the service would be free. And so you start paying for the next month on the first. So you pay ahead for the service. But try it out. It's not going to hurt you to pay 1 month's worth. And you think about it, um, not having to worry about sales tax is fantastic. Falling behind would probably more than pay for Davo for over a year. So I think it's a really good investment. Give it a shot. If you hate it, big deal. You've spent a little bit, tiny bit of money on it. I really don't think you're going to hate it, but everybody loves Davo. I mean, our ratings are really great on NPS, Trustpilot, all of those places because it is so important. I mean, we have comments like, "You kept me out of jail. You saved my marriage, and I can sleep at night." These are
Yeah.
things that are really. I mean, what does that tell you, right? Sales
Yeah.
tax is personal. It's really
Yeah.
personal. And speaking to that, it's if you're a business owner and you get behind in sales tax and close your business, it follows you personally. So these things are very important. And that's why I really want people to know that if you are behind, there's a usually some percentage of restaurants and businesses that are, and you're not alone. And
Yeah.
there's a light at the end of the tunnel that's not a train. And help Davo get you up to date
Yeah.
and stay up to date.
Well, and I guess if it's an integrated partner like a GoTab integrated partner, all that information it already exists.
Oh yeah, it's the only way to go. You have to. I mean,
Yeah.
it's fantastic.
I didn't ask this in advance, but what's the onboarding process? Imagine I was a business, I wanted to get started with you today. What would I do?
Oh, it's pretty easy. You're basically going to go ahead and add the integration, for example, in GoTab. And once you've got the integration access, you go ahead and you add your bank account and routing number, and then you go through adding your Department of Revenue credentials or information. So, for example, if you log into Department of Revenue, you'll need your user ID and password for that. Some states, and here's another thing, right? Every single state is different. So when you are onboarding in Davo, we'll present you with all the fields that you need. So I recommend if you can be in the office when you sign up, so you can get access to your TIN if you need it, to any specific number the state might give you as a registration number, or all the information that you might need. And then you're
And
signed
then
up.
and then I'm signed up and then you've got it from there and talk about the pricing and then reporting.
Oh, sure. Well, right now, today it's early 2026. So the price is $57.99 per month per location. And you said talk about the price and
Oh, reporting.
reporting. Oh,
Yeah.
do you mean the sales tax reporting, or do you
Yeah, like
mean
so, oh, to me,
reporting you can
okay,
pull out
so
of it?
of what's happening. Like, so do I get like a, whatever the transfer is, do I get a report from Davo or is it something that I'm just assuming that you're taking it, you're filing in it, I'm just gonna let it set it and forget it.
Yeah, for the most part. I always say don't ignore the emails from Davo because sometimes the Department of Revenue needs you to change your password. And so we can't perform the service if we can't get in. So pay attention to that. And every single user can say yes or no. I want a daily email that tells me what my sales and sales tax were today or for the previous day, or they can sign up for a weekly update. As far as reporting goes, yeah, we're going to, when you first sign up, we can capture the previous business days in the cycle, or the previous days in cycle where there was business being done, so that or we can do a partial payment. And what happens is the default, say I signed up today, it's March 13th, 2026, and I signed up, I could say, yes, you do the default and capture March 1st. Say I was a monthly filer, March 1st through March 13th. Please catch up those in one payment in one ACH request. And then Davo has all the money. Or I could say, you know what? I don't have the money right now, and I think I'm going to do a partial filing. So don't do that. And then Davo would do a partial filing, and then you'd be responsible for the other half. And then moving forward, then Davo would do the monthly filing. But for quarterly, we sweep back to January or whatever the 3-month period is, etc. So we can do that. And then what happens is they'll have a portal that they can log into if they want to look at things. So they'll have the dashboard on the front that will have the current sales tax period, and it will have all the transactions, what's pending, what's already cleared, what's gone through. And they'll see at the top what the taxable sales are and what the sales tax is for that sales tax period. And then they'll have a dashboard. And on the left, they're going to go ahead and they'll see the filings if they want to look at them, and the proof of payment. And we're actually adding a feature in next quarter where you'll have a sales tax rate lookup, and that will be available for a monthly fee or an annual fee, depending on what they choose. And they can look up their sales tax rates. They'll get a dashboard for every rate, all those complicated things we already talked about, like the bag fees and if it's prepared food offsite, etc. All of those things will be available. They can just put in their address and look at the sales tax rates, and they can be sure that they're up to date. So saving them some more time. We really want to help these operators stay in compliance and make it as easy as possible, remove as much friction as possible.
Very nice. So if someone wants to know more about you, Davo, how to get in touch, you want to share your details?
Oh, sure. Well, you can go to davosalestax.com for sure. But I am Cristine with no H dot Vickery, and that's Cristine dot Vickery, Vickery at Avalara, which is all A's, Avalara.com. And I'd be happy to help you or connect you with the right people to do so.
Well, thank you so much for joining me today, Christine. It was great talking with you.
Oh, it was my absolute pleasure. Thank you so much. This is really wonderful. And I love that you do this podcast. I've looked at some others and they're always interesting.
Oh, very cool. It's one of my favorite things about my job, so I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. You have a nice weekend.
All right, you too. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.